I don't usually tell people this story. Not because I don't want to. It's just that nobody really believes me when I do, but I need to get it out there. Maybe someone else has experienced something similar. Maybe I'm not going crazy. This happened about 6 months ago. I was working the night shift at a tech company downtown. Customer support graveyard hours, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The pay was decent, and honestly, I liked the quiet. No traffic on the commute. No crowded lunchrooms. Just me, my headphones, and a nearly empty office building. The building was 12 floors. Our office was on the 7th. During the day, the place was packed, probably 300 people working there. But at night, just me and maybe 2 or 3 other night shift workers scattered across different floors. The security guard in the lobby. The cleaning crew that came through around 2 a.m. That was it. I'd been doing this shift for about 4 months when things started feeling off. Nothing major at first, just small things. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and you're sure someone was just there? Like the air is still moving? I'd get that sometimes. I'd look up from my desk and I'd swear I saw movement in my peripheral vision. But when I'd turn my head, nothing. Just rows of empty cubicles stretching out into the darkness. I started keeping my headphones off. I told myself it was just to stay alert, but really, I wanted to hear if something was there. And that's when I noticed the sounds. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were always the slowest, barely any support tickets coming in. I was at my desk and it was probably around 1:30 in the morning. The cleaning crew had left maybe 20 minutes earlier. The building was completely silent. Then I heard footsteps. Not close, but not far either. Steady footsteps, like someone walking with purpose. At first, I thought maybe one of the other night shift people was stretching their legs. We all did that, walking around to stay awake. But these footsteps, they weren't wandering. They were walking in a straight line, back and forth. Back and forth. I stood up, called out, "Hello?" Nothing. The footsteps stopped. I waited. Maybe 30 seconds of complete silence. Then they started again. Same rhythm, same direction. Back and forth. I walked toward the sound, past the break room, past the conference rooms. The footsteps were coming from the far side of the floor, near the windows. As I got closer, they got louder, clearer. Definitely footsteps. And then I rounded the corner. Nothing. Just empty cubicles. Dark windows. The footsteps had stopped the second I came around that corner. I stood there for probably 5 minutes, just listening, waiting, but there was nothing. I convinced myself it was the building settling. Old pipes, something. After that night, I started paying more attention, and once you start looking, you see things. Things you probably saw before but just ignored, like the doors. The office had those heavy doors with the hydraulic closers, the kind that swing shut slowly on their own. A few times I'd be working and I'd hear one close, but I never heard it open. Just chunk, the sound of a door closing. I'd go check and the door would be shut. No one around. And the elevator. God, the elevator. Our floor had a bank of 3 elevators. During the day, they were constantly moving. But at night, they should have been still. There was no reason for them to move. But I'd see the lights above the elevator doors flicker on. Counting up, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then they'd stop on my floor. I'd watch the elevator lights, waiting for the doors to open, but they never did. The lights would just sit there for maybe 10, 15 seconds. Then they'd go dark. No sound of the elevator moving away. Just nothing. This happened probably a dozen times over the next few weeks. Always the same elevator, middle one. I mentioned it to the security guard once. He looked at me like I was nuts. Said the elevators had motion sensors that they wouldn't move unless someone called them. I didn't push it. But the worst part? The absolute worst part? It was the feeling of being watched. Not all the time, just sometimes. Usually around 3 a.m., 3:15, somewhere in there. I'd be working, and the hairs on the back of my neck would stand up. And I'd know, I'd know'd someone was looking at me. I'd turn around, and there'd be nothing. But the feeling wouldn't go away. It would just sit there, pressing on me, until I'd finally get up and do a walk around the floor, turning on every light I passed, making noise, reminding myself I was alone. Then came the night that made me quit. It was a Thursday, 3:20 a.m. I remember checking my phone for the time. I just finished a support ticket when I heard it. A voice, quiet, but definitely a voice, coming from the conference room at the end of the hall. I stood up, listened. It was muffled, but it sounded like someone was talking. Not on the phone. I couldn't hear that tinny speaker sound. It sounded like someone was in there, having a conversation. I walked down the hall, slowly. The lights were motion activated, and they clicked on as I passed. The voice got clearer. It was definitely coming from the conference room. And I could make out words now. Not what they were saying exactly, but the rhythm of speech. Questions and answers, like two people talking. I got to the door. It had a window, one of those frosted glass panels. And I could see shadows moving inside. Two distinct shadows, people-shaped. I reached for the handle. My hand was shaking. I don't know why I opened it. I should have just walked away, called security, but I opened it. The room was empty, completely empty, but the chairs were pulled out, like someone had just been sitting in them, and the projector screen was down. I never left the projector screen down. Nobody did. I stood there, staring at those chairs, and I felt it again. That feeling of being watched. But this time it was different. This time it wasn't from behind me. It was from inside the room, like whatever had been in there was still there. Just not visible anymore. I backed out, closed the door, and I walked back to my desk, grabbed my bag, and I left. Didn't clock out. Didn't tell anyone. Just got in my car and drove home. I called in sick the next day, and the day after that. On the third day, I sent in my resignation. 2 weeks' notice. They asked why I was leaving. I said I found another job. I did those 2 weeks on day shift, traded with another guy. I never went back to that floor at night. Not once. Here's the thing that bothers me most. A few weeks after I left, I was talking to someone who still worked there. I asked if anything weird had happened on the night shift lately. They looked at me funny and said the night shift position was still open. Nobody wanted it. Apparently, the last 3 people who worked it all quit suddenly. All of them left in the middle of their shift. I asked what floor they worked on. They said the 7th floor. I still think about it sometimes. Wonder what was there, or maybe who. Maybe it was employees who died in the building. Maybe it was something else. I don't know. What I do know is this. If you ever work a night shift in an empty office building and you start feeling like you're not alone, trust that feeling. Because you probably aren't.